and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason, and this week I have a pair of Lesney Matchbox Jaguar D-Types up for restoration. The smaller 41A D-Type was in production from 1957 and was upscaled to the 41B version in 1960. The 41B casting lasted until 1965. Aside from measuring 62mm in length over its 55mm predecessor, there were few visual differences between the two. I'll go into more depth on both as well as the real D-Type during this video. Each of my examples are very scratched and paint thinned, with both losing the majority of their number 41 decals in the process. There were a number of variations on both, mostly surrounding the number decals and wheel types. Here is a mint 41A. And this is a real Jaguar D-Type racing car with stabilising fin like the model. In the top right, you'll see I've added the model reference throughout the video to keep track of which is which. The 41A Jaguar D-Type entered the Matchbox series painted British racing green with a black base and light brown painted driver. This remained the same throughout production. It was fitted with metal wheels on crimped axle ends. The final run of models had grey plastic wheels. Nearly all examples had the number 41 decals applied, though some scarce versions had number 52s from the 52A Maserati affixed. These are pretty valuable if you happen across one of those. After just 3 years of production, the bigger 41B casting replaced the 41A in 1960. Again, this casting used the same colour scheme of racing green body, black base and light brown driver. Early issues had grey plastic wheels like mine. Crimped axles were found only on the earliest examples, so mine must fit into this category. The plastic wheels were soon swapped out to wire wheels. Late run models had red hubs with tyres fitted. The open grille section was quickly cast shut, while there were again rare versions equipped with decals from other models. The number 5 from the 52B BRM could be found. This model was introduced in 1965, the same year the Jaguar was replaced. Some were even fitted with a number 6 decal from the models of yesteryear Y6 to Bugatti. These are extremely rare and can be worth upwards of £800. The 41B was replaced by the Ford GT, a model which I restored very early on indeed. Now, as for the real D-Type, it was built specifically to win Le Mans. It used the same XK Straight 6 from its C-Type predecessor. The D used a monocoque structure and used a vertical stabiliser to aid aerodynamics. Introduced in 1954, Jaguar and the D-Type were expected to perform well at that year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. The cars were hampered by fuel starvation due to issues with the filters. This necessitated irregular pit stops for their removal. Despite this, the Jag showed its aerodynamic superiority on the long Mulsanne straight, hitting a maximum of 172.8 miles per hour, compared to the 160.1 of the 4.9 litre Ferrari 375 Plus, the eventual winner. Also, in spite of all of the extra pit stops, the D-Type driven by Duncan Hamilton and Tony Rolt managed to finish less than a lap behind the winning Ferrari. 3 weeks later, the D-Type won the 12 Hours of Reims. For 1955, the car was modified with a longer nose and larger valves. For that year's Le Mans, Mercedes had been expected to win in their 300 SLR, but the D-Types were proving to be competitive. Mike Hawthorne's car held the lead over Juan Manuel Fangio's Mercedes when disaster struck. More on that shortly though, as here I made a bit of an error with my paint. This dark green turned out a lot darker than I was expecting. I can't really tell you what I was thinking at the time, but it's miles off even the variations of shades Lesney would have produced. I have to take this casting back to the drawing board after seeing the racing green on the other model. The disaster I was talking of earlier was the most catastrophic accident in motor racing history. The crash started when Hawthorne pulled in front of Lance Macklin's car for his pit stop. Macklin swerved out from behind Hawthorne into the path of Pierre Levay's 300 SLR. LeVay hit Macklin and launched his Mercedes over an earth berm at 125 miles per hour, killing LeVay and 83 spectators. The car exploded into flames and debris was strewn throughout the crowd. 120 further people were injured. Mercedes withdrew from the race, while Jaguar opted to continue. Hawthorne and teammate Ivor Bube went on to win the event with the D-Type. Jaguar again entered in 1956, but their best placed works entry was 6th. However, a D-Type entered by Ikuria Kos and driven by Ron Flockhart and Ninian Sanderson won the event, beating the works teams of Aston Martin and Ferrari. At the end of the year, Jaguar withdrew from motorsport. However, the D-Type, now with a 3.8 litre straight 6, was dominant at Le Mans. It took 5 of the top 6 positions with a clean sweep of the top 4. Ikuria Kos again won with drivers Flockhart and Bube. No new D-Types were built after 1957, but they were entered into the 1958 to 1960 Le Mans races with a smaller 3 litre engine to meet new regulations. Jaguar did, however, offer the unused D-Type chassis for sale as road cars following their retirement from motorsport. 16 XKSS models were built, but a fire in 1957 destroyed a lot of the tooling and several cars. In 2016, Jaguar announced that a hand-built continuation model would fulfill the original order. Jaguar have said that a total of 75 cars were made, with 16 XKSS's plus the continuation models. Back to the model, and here's how my 41A and B Jaguar D-Types appeared before I set about restoring them. Both were pretty well played with, missing a significant quantity of paint and much of the 41 decals. The axles were very rusty on each model. I'm a big fan of these D-Types, and I think each looks as good as one another. I almost had a total miss with one of the paint choices earlier, but let's see how both look in a lovely racing green. That's far more like it. The racing green by Tamiya sits on these two perfectly. The identical number 41 decals look very close to the original Lesney decals and now sit under a layer of clear lacquer looking very smooth indeed. The drivers, while mostly untouched, have equally been repainted in tan. I'm not quite sure how the 41A driver is meant to see, though the cockpit is actually glass on the real D-Type. I brushed off the rust from the axles and coated the ends in chrome so they are looking shiny and new too. So that's that for this episode. Let me know what you think of my two Jags in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the rebuild and the condensed story of the D-Type. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button in order to stay up to date with all the latest releases from me. Also, find me at Diecast Restos on Instagram for early previews every Friday of that week's release. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.